everyone. Welcome to the very first Democracy podcast. We have a brand new microphone, and I recommend you to use your headphones in order to listen to this.
Today's topic, as you may infer, is democracy. But this is not the typical war podcast because today we're gonna talk about what is meant by the concept of democracy right now versus what it should be in the future, using examples of the real life in Mexico, especially in 2018, a year of elections.
If you don't know who we are, let us introduce ourselves.
Hello everyone, I hope you're having an excellent day. My name is Aaron Rosales and I'm an actual student of Industrial Engineering in Tecnológico de Monterrey. I'm 22 years old.
Hi everyone, my name is Lizzie Vasquez and I'm also studying at Tecnológico de Monterrey, the Bachelor of Innovation and Development Engineer. But enough with introducing formalities. So Aaron, could you tell our great public what do we have for today?
Sure, we brought you guys a very interesting and controversial topic. This news like a breath fresh from the oven. After almost 4 months of investigations, protests, and discussions, the PAN candidate Felipe Jesus Cantú Rodríguez was finally declared by the Sala Regional Tribunal Electoral del Poder Judicial de la Federación as Monterrey's mayor for the period of 2018 to 2021.
Oh, yes, there's been a lot here about this topic. Let's explain our audience how it all happened because I'm sure many of you may be confused.
As we all know, the past 1st of July, the Mexican elections took place. Mexicans had to vote for deputies, senators, and for president. In Nuevo León, people also had to vote for the city councils. This was the case of Monterrey. Their three main candidates were Adrián de la Garza, representing Pre-Party, Felipe Jesus Cantú, representing PAN, and Alberto Madero with Partido Verde. By the 5th of July, all municipalities had already their final results, except for Monterrey and Guadalupe.
In Monterrey, the panorama seemed favorable for the PAN candidate Felipe Jesus Cantú, who on Sunday night had accumulated 29% of the popular vote, ahead only by 2% of the PRI's candidate Adrián de la Garza Santos, who was seeking re-election. The computing process by the Comisión Municipal Electoral de Monterrey was subjective to recessions and discussions between parties' representatives. It was even necessary a vote-by-vote counting of more than 500 packages due to inconsistencies.
Let me add something. This municipality was the last one to publish results, since it had the largest voter registry.
That's true. Days after, the candidate Adrián de la Garza, not in favor of the results, approached the Tribunal Estatal Electoral de Nuevo León, TEE, who, with the excuse of inconsistencies, eliminated the votes of many known PAN colonies and decided a revocation of the elections of the municipalities of Monterrey and Guadalupe and declared the pre-candidates as winners.
Did you know that a relationship was found between Adrián de la Garza and the president of the Tribunal Estatal?
Yes, Cantú declared this decision as an injustice and that the de la Garza had to accept his defeat. So he used his last resource, the Tribunal Electoral del Poder Judicial de la Federación, who furthermore passed the case to the Tribunal Electoral del Poder Judicial de la Federación, who declared the final result. PAN Party had definitely won the elections in Monterrey.
Wow, such a drama. Although the electoral institutions were given their proper use, it may be seen that democracy was substituted by candidates' interests, who are actually playing with citizens' votes in order to accommodate them for their own benefit. Such an injustice. Unfortunately, there are many cases like this. It also involucrates someone from Nuevo León.
This is the case with the ex-governor of Veracruz, Javier Duarte, and his ridiculous sentence.
After 17 months in detention, the former governor of Veracruz, Javier Duarte, declared himself guilty to the crimes of criminal association and operations with resources of illicit origin. He received a sentence of 9 years in prison, less than originally planned. Can you believe it?
No. Besides, he only received a charge of 58,000 pesos and only 41 properties were confiscated. This is because Duarte no longer faced charges of organized crime, a crime withdrawal by the PGR, and because his decision to accept guilt allowed him to receive a lower sentence.
I know, and the thing here is the proportion of the crimes he committed versus the sentence he is receiving, because during his governance, billions of pesos were diverted, and there was an innumerable amount of corrupt acts. The most serious actions were the false VIH test that were administered to patients diagnosed with this disease, and also false therapies given to children with cancer.
Right, here's where the democracy enters in a modern way. Will you wonder why? First, let's recall what is the original concept of democracy. Demos, which means people, and kratos, power. The ancient democracy, according to Sartori, states in his book The Theory of Democracy and mentions that the ancient democracy was a society composed of a minimum number of citizens that unite and administer personally the government. But today, it no longer resembles what it originally was. Nowadays, democracy is a representative system for the will of the people. And starting from this argument, in the last month of July, the senator elections were held and the candidate Samuel Garcia won. He belongs to a recently new political party called Movimiento Ciudadano, and he distinguishes from his honest career and for a technological media campaign, where he showed his actions to the society through social networks. But wait, you audience may be asking yourselves, what is the relationship between Javier Duarte and Samuel Garcia?
Let me explain it to you. The existence of a possible collusion of the PGR with Javier Duarte is noticed in exchange for a quantity of money, goods, or benefits that will give rise to requests of a totally inadequate penalty. And that poor sentence is what Samuel Garcia is chasing. First, he sent the documents of the case to the International Penal Court in Netherlands. However, the time passed and the process wasn't progressing. So he, by his own means, took an airplane to Europe to deliver in hand the documents so the process could continue. When he arrived at the International Court, he realized that the exhort that was sent by the Senate as an urgent is still at Mexico, at the Secretaría de Gobernación with Alonso Navarrete Prida. This big is the collusion and mooring of Javier Duarte with the federal government. And from here is where we should think what really democracy in 2018 is. Because if Samuel Garcia would have attached himself to the whole accusatory process, as the law dictates, the process would have been delayed for months and perhaps never would have taken place. But as democracy states, he is representing the will of the people, and people ask for justice. Thanks to the way he's handling his actions through social media, more people are learning about the actions that are being carried out in a faster way, in a language that most can understand. In this way, the people who vote for him realize that his vote is really working to change things, through the effort of a politician who works and shows it. But what about the other politicians that they don't show their work? As citizens, how can we know who really is working to improve the conditions of the people? With what means can we assure that our vote is really working? Even more, how can we complain about the politicians who don't fulfill their function if traditional ways lack of strength to have results?
Now I can see where this is going and complementing your argument. Olvera, in his text, The Elusive Democracy, states that the creation of new public spaces seems urgent and necessary to counter the paradoxical combination of depolitization of public life and overpolitization of democratic institutions from which the country suffers today.
After these two examples, what do you think democracy is nowadays compared to how it should be? Also, how should our representatives behave?
I believe this present year has definitely not shown the real exercise of democracy in Mexico. Citizens should be able to trust their governors and vote should be respected and really taken into account. Citizens should freely choose their representatives and feel safe that there are no inconsistencies. What can you say, Aaron?
As a society, we find ourselves in an exponential development era, where technology is growing at incredible fast rates, and so our democracy should adapt and change in order to keep up to date. Such a project could be possible as a result of a democratic reform of the state, a political process that can be carried out only by an alliance of the civil society and the political actors. The agenda is clear and known. The problem is that the actors who carry out these tasks are not yet in sight. But now, with modern politicians like Samuel Garcia, these tasks can be carried out.
Thank you for your attention. Without you, this podcast would not be possible. Don't miss next week's episode.
Same hour, same tune. See you.